In a discourse on the Psalms, St. Augustine wrote, "The desire of your heart is itself your prayer." The desire of your heart is itself your prayer. Perhaps his words of desire for prayer brings comfort to those among us who struggle with prayer or find prayer empty or just do not have time for prayer. In referring to St. Paul's encouragement, pray without ceasing, St. Augustine speaks of the desire of the heart as prayer without ceasing. The desire of your heart is itself your prayer. In Luke's text, the disciples asked Jesus, "Teach us how to pray." Though they already knew of Jewish customs of prayer, for example, praying with the Psalms from the Hebrew Scriptures, they must have seen something unique in the way Jesus prayed as they observed him and watched him. Perhaps they sensed his desire, the desire in his heart, which itself is prayer. As Luke recounts, Jesus was praying in a certain place, and when he finished, they asked him to teach them how to pray. Perhaps they sensed something different about the way he was praying. Perhaps they could see or sense his prayer needed no words, that his prayer was from a place of desire, an experience of intimacy and familiarity with the Father. He teaches his disciples to pray with the words that begin, "Our Father." Scripture scholars note the word in Aramaic for father was Abba, a name which suggests an intimacy, a relationship, and familiarity in prayer. When he taught his disciples to pray, "Our Father," he teaches us to pray with words, but a prayer that rises from an interior space in the heart, I think best articulated as desire, a prayer from the heart when one speaks the words, "Abba." The scripture texts build around the prayer of Jesus, offering ways to one engages God in prayer. In the book of Genesis, Abraham is engaging the Lord. He's really pressing in hard, if you will, persistent in asking again and again to see if God will be merciful to the innocent. Abraham persists with the Lord, advocating for the innocent people of Sodom, that the Lord spare them from being swept away with the guilty. In the psalm, God hears and answers the cries of one in need of help. The prayer for help changes to a prayer of gratitude. I thank you for hearing my words. In Luke's text, after Jesus teaches the prayer we are so familiar with, the prayer to the Father, he goes on, teaching for the need to persist in prayer, asking for what one needs, the kind of persistence that Abraham showed in his prayer, like the friend who comes to the door at night, asking for food. In prayer, one persists to trust in God's benevolence. When we knock, the door will be opened. Something that may be helpful in reflecting on these scripture texts and reflecting on how to pray, there seems to be a curious transition between chapters in Luke's gospel. This text on Jesus' teaching his disciples how to pray begins a new chapter in Luke. But the previous chapters are interesting. The previous chapter concludes with two accounts. The story of Jesus visiting Martha and Mary, and the story of the Good Samaritan. We remember these stories. We can recall them. The first one, Jesus pays a visit to Martha and Mary. While Martha is preparing food for the table, Mary chose the good part. sitting with Jesus. In a way, resting in his presence. And before this account, Luke writes of the story of the Good Samaritan, or the good neighbor, the one who shows mercy, caring for a stranger who is suffering. Then Luke transitions to a new chapter, and it begins with the disciples asking Jesus how to pray. Is there a relationship or correlation between these parts of Luke's text? We may see the teaching of Jesus on prayer, both prayers of words and prayers of desire, as the foundation for the life of discipleship, a life of prayer and service. The service of Martha and the Good Samaritan. Give us this day our daily bread. Joined with the contemplative, prayerful posture of Mary, the one who chose the good part. As we remember St. Augustine's words, the desire of your heart is itself your prayer. We nurture that desire as we hold in prayer those enduring profound suffering in our world and persisting in the prayer Jesus taught. Your will be done on earth as in heaven.